Well, as I mentioned in the short, the quick answer to why I live in the van is freedom. But that's just a quick answer. That's only part of it. I mean, my concept of freedom might be different to your concept of freedom. Let me know your ideas in the comments. Hello, my name's Neil. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're an existing viewer, welcome back. This is the next stage in my life story. Well, I might waffle a little bit in this video, but if you stay until the end, I'll give you all my reasons why I live in a van. I call this chapter 6 part 2. I did a video about a month ago which explained a little bit of why and how I got a van, a panel van. So if you go back to October 2023, I've just purchased a 2018 Mercedes Sprinter with the idea of converting it into a camper van. No experience of doing camper van conversions, but I was going to have help from my brother, who also had no experience of converting camper vans, apart from he'd had a Volkswagen split screen camper van for donkey's years and maintained it and done things with it. So we've got the van, I've got a lock-up, somewhere to park it, somewhere to keep the tools, and we've got YouTube to help us do the conversion. Now there are some things we were both reluctant to do, and the first one was we didn't want to cut any holes in the side for the windows. So that was the first thing we had done. I took it to a place in Castleford and they cut out the holes and fitted the windows. Quite expensive. I mean, further along the line, when we'd seen it on YouTube, it saw how easy it was. We could have probably done it ourselves, but at the time it just didn't seem the right thing to do. So once we got the windows in, we had to rip everything out from the inside. Well, the van was an old DHL delivery van, so all the inside was shelving, metal shelving, riveted into the walls, big bulkhead, metal bulkhead with a sliding door, only one seat. Now it took us a long time to get all the shelving out, and this was like the first inkling we had that things were going to take longer than we thought. Eventually we managed to get everything out, and then I've got an empty van. Now the decisions are coming along. How am I going to fit it out? Where am I going to put the bed? Where am I going to put the seating? Where am I going to put the kitchen? Again, we go back to YouTube. See lots of different conversions on YouTube. There's a couple of things I was adamant from right from the beginning. One of them was I didn't want any gas in the van. I've never had gas in any of the houses I've lived in or the flats I've lived in, so it's not something I was going to be missing. Plus it was something I was unsure about. So with that in mind, I needed to think about electrics. Now my brother's done a bit of electrics. I've never done anything like that. So this was another one where we went to the professionals. Now I contacted Numa, who asked me lots of questions about what I was going to be doing in the van, how much off grid, I was going to go campsites, and they came up with my requirements for my electrics. So they detailed it all out, schematics, and I could purchase everything from them. Now this was going to be one of the biggest outlays, and eventually it cost me just over £5,000 for my electrics. They supplied everything and all the guidance and help to help fit it. I wasn't ready for putting the electrics in yet, so I'd ordered it all for delivery. So I was new to YouTube, watching YouTube, but not filming for YouTube. I mean, I took a few photos at the beginning, but it wasn't something I was going to be doing on a daily basis. However, my brother, more used to filming things, decided to document the process. Now, he's got a YouTube channel called Harpers Garage. I'll put a link in the description for his channel if you want to see the ins and outs of the actual conversion. I think he's got about 35 videos on there which showing his doing lots of different work. He comes across a little bit like a teacher in the videos, but he covers near enough everything we did. Well, if you're really interested, then I would suggest you check it out. How was I going to design the inside of the van? I've no idea. So I got some boxes, put some boxes together, placed them around inside the van. This might go there, this might go that way. What sort of space we're going to have. If I put that there, you have to spend quite a bit of time planning before you actually start doing things. I mean, initially we ripped out everything back to a bare shell, and it was sound deadening. How much did we use? Where did we put it? Insulation. What type of insulation to use? Again, where to put it? My initial thoughts about this van, it was going to be for my adventures. Again, if you look at some of my older videos which document my adventures, done a lot of camping, cycle camping, car camping, and this seemed to be the next logical step. Get a camper van. As I was getting older, it would make more sense rather than camping in a tent. So initially it was going to be weekend use, on holidays, couple of week holidays from work. But the more I thought about it, the more I decided that if I was going to do the van out, I needed to do it so that I could actually live in it. Not with that intention at that point, but just in case. I mean, I was spending this money on a conversion, and I wanted to be comfortable wherever I was in the van, in winter, in summer, in spring, in autumn. So we decided to maybe overdo it a little bit with the insulation. Once the insulation was up, put the walls up. Now, buying wood and screws, nails, we had some tools. My brother had quite a few tools, but there were some things which we didn't have, so which I had to purchase. Track saw was one thing. Nail gun. I've seen nail guns used on YouTube, so that'd be a good idea. Get a nail gun. A staple gun. All these little things add up. I was really surprised how much screws, nails and wood cost in a build. You start off with buying what you think you're going to need and soon realise you haven't got enough. The amount of times we went back and forwards, screw fix, B&Q, local timber yard, constantly buying things. Yes, it's a long drawn out process doing a camper van conversion. It takes a lot of thought. You're constantly having to think of the next move. Sometimes you have to do something twice in order to see that it doesn't work. So we quite often put something in and have to take it back out. Try in a different angle, different place. So it evolves as you're doing the build evolves. The way you're doing it evolves. How you set things up. It takes quite a while to do everything. Fitting the walls is a prime example. Nothing's square. The walls of the van taper in. Putting battens in, you have to think about the shape of the van. Scribing, oh, that's a nightmare. Cardboard's a great idea for scribing, to get a template. Another tip which came from YouTube, which we used many times during the build. Use the cardboard, scribe as close as you can, make a template, stick it on the wood, cut the wood to that template. The cardboard fit fantastic. You transferred it to the wood, you put the wood in, doesn't fit. Not quite right. Take a little bit off. Try it again. Still don't fit. Take a bit off. Taking too much. Now you've got a gap. Very easy to do. You can waste a lot of wood. Waste a lot of different things if you just don't get it right. Now, one of the things I decided fairly early on, after seeing this bed on YouTube in the States, and given that it was a high top Sprinter, I decided I wanted to get an elevator bed. I didn't want to be making a bed every day, and I wasn't that bothered about having a garage space in the back of the van. I wanted a seating area with a table, cupboards, and then at the front of the van I wanted the kitchen. Another thing I looked at initially, do I need a shower in the van? Checking out YouTube, saw different people, yeah, they've got a shower with a toilet, they use it as a wet room, hanging up the wet clothes. Don't really use a shower. So I decided I didn't want a shower, not an internal shower anyway. There's plenty of places to get a shower, gyms, service stations, swimming pools, not that expensive. If I needed a shower, get a shower like that. But I did think about having a shower for the summer, so we decided to put in an outside shower. I haven't used it yet because we're not into summer. Another thing, heating and hot water. I don't like being cold, so I wanted to ensure that I'd have sufficient heating for the winter months, or just when it's chilly in the morning. Checking out on YouTube, checking out online, and I found a Truma combination boiler. Runs off the diesel, can also run off the electric when you're plugged in. So that was another decision, another expensive decision. Getting a fridge. So all these little fridges, 50 litre. Oh, that sounds fantastic, that's really big. The reality is, when I went and looked at them, they were too small. Even though it's just going to be me, I wanted sufficient space to have a decent amount of stuff in the fridge. So I looked around and I found an 80 litre fridge, quite a tall one, nearly like a full-size one, which would fit in the van. But it's bigger than the other ones, so I had to think about how and where that was going to go. Once I got the basic design and layout ready for the van, then we could actually start work. After we'd done all the insulation, it was time to do the flooring. Again, following YouTube advice, fitted the flooring with a bit of an overhang by the step, the side door. So now we've got a base. We've got a base, we've got walls. Let's think about the roof. Initially I was going to do it in wood, like everybody else. And I spotted some material, like a vinyl, in a local market. And I thought that'd be nice. It was black. So that triggered my colour scheme. Black, white and grey. That was going to be my colour scheme. My brother was a bit apprehensive, thinking it was going to be too dark, but I was adamant that's what I wanted. So I bought the material. It was an offcut, it was fairly cheap. So when we did the ceiling, we just did it in sheets, and I covered it with the material. So I've got a vinyl roof. Lighting. Where was the lighting going to go? How many lights? What type of lights? All these little questions keep coming at you. I mean, I don't want to go too much into it, because if you check out Harpers Garage, my brother's YouTube channel, you'll see all the ins and outs of the build. I think we survived on cups of tea and Kit Kats and the occasional sandwich for about 8 months. Initially I was still working 5 days a week. Just working 2 days a week on the van wasn't really enough. My brother was retired, so he would be doing a few more days. But I didn't want to leave it all to him, a bit unfair. So I spoke to work and reduced my hours to 3 days a week. So that means I had 4 days a week on the van. That really helped push it along. As the bill went on and the costs kept going up, I'm glad I kept the work. I needed that income coming in just for the incidental costs. I mean, I had my budget, my £30,000 budget, initial budget. After I bought the van, I had about 18,000 left. It was quite difficult during the winter months, working in the van. It was cold. No heating in the workshop. So yeah, we were quite well wrapped up. And as most people probably understand, it's difficult to work when you're covered in like layers and layers of clothes, and your hands are getting chilly, and your fingers are freezing, handling cold tools. Some things you can't really do when it's so cold. Painting, glue takes a long time to go off. All these little things you have to take into consideration. Now it took me and my brother from October 23 to July 24 to complete the build. My idea at that time was to still use the van on the weekends, long weeks, but not to live in it. As the build got too close to completion, I dropped down to 2 days a week at work. So that meant I could use the van for 5 days a week, go away travelling on my adventures. Now where I lived, not a fantastic area. Quite a bit of crime in the area, car thefts, burglaries, kids running wild, driving around without helmets on motorbikes, nicking cars, as I say. Not a great place to live. Well, relatively early in the build, my old Mini packed in and I had to buy a new car. Well, a second-hand car. I still needed to be mobile going to work. Now this car did me okay during the build. As the build was coming to a close, I was looking at selling the car. So I took it in for an MOT, failed on a couple of things, so I paid for it to be fixed. It needed a couple of new tyres, put some new tyres on it. All great. So I put the car for sale on Facebook Marketplace. It was parked up outside my house, my flat. Now the van was finished, complete, and I handed back the keys for the lockup, paid off the last bit of rent I owed, and drove the van to my home for the first time. Parked up outside my house, my flat. I was watching TV that night, about 12 o'clock at night. I heard this almighty bang. I looked out the window, my car was on fire. The van was parked 2 spaces away from it. I was frightened. I was really shocked. Could have been my van. It was bad enough being my car. Quickly threw on some clothes, run outside. Couldn't do anything with the car was fully ablaze. There was no way I could do anything with it. I jumped in the van. I moved it round the corner, shaking. The fire brigade turned up, put out the car. Nothing left of it. It was a wreck. Police turned up about 2 hours later. I spent all this time just sat in the van, shaking. That was the final straw for me. I decided that day I'm not going to live in that place anymore. So after that day I decided I'm going to live full time in the van. This is going to be a big move. I went through all my closets, went through all my wardrobes and my drawers, looking at what I wanted to take with me to stock up in the van. I loaded all the van up with things which I thought was necessary. And I took off in the van for my first trip. My first trip was to Castleton. I'd seen it on YouTube, but the vans were parked up there with no issue. And as a newbie, I was frightened of not finding somewhere to park. So that was going to be my first park up. Now I'll still retain my flat for storage, really. And also at my flat there's a communal shower and communal washing machines. So what I did, I just popped back once a week, did my washing, had a quick shower. I had a shower somewhere else as well, but as I say, I was using the flat just for storage. I had too much stuff which had accumulated over the years. I couldn't take it into the van, and I didn't really need it. So there it is, really, why I live in a van at 61. Well, to summarise why I live in a van, well, freedom is one of them. What do I mean by freedom? I mean, it gives me the freedom to go from wherever I want. If I don't like somewhere, I can start the motor and drive somewhere else. The second reason, really, financial. It's a lot cheaper living in a van. You haven't got the council tax, your other bills, gas bills, your water bill, TV licence. So you make a bit of a saving on all these bills. I mean, obviously you've still got to buy your food. The biggest expense obviously is diesel. But that depends on how much you're travelling. And for me, I like travelling. Another reason, I didn't like where I was living. I didn't like being stuck in one place. And I think at 61 years old now, this movement around is so much better for my mental health. I mean, ideally, I would like to be doing this 100% full time. I mean, I'm living in my van full time, 100%, but I'm still tied to work 2 days a week in order to fund my lifestyle. That's another reason why I'm in the van. 2 days a week gives me sufficient money to live in the van full time and to experience different adventures and visit different places. So they're the main reasons I live in a van at 61. I like meeting other people. I like meeting other van lifers. I like making YouTube videos as well, showing you the places where I've been. If you was going to live in a van, how would you do it? Put your thoughts in the comments and let me know if you're thinking about moving into a van. Have you just moved into a van? Or are you full time already? I'd like to hear from you. Stick it in the comments. I think the only problem with full-time van life now is that we seem to be being persecuted, a little bit like the gypsies and travellers were, or still are, by councils. The amount of parking bans and no overnights coming in, I'm not quite sure what they're doing. Are they trying to restrict us? Are they trying to get rid of us? I'm hoping not. As I say, I'm 61. Don't know how many years I've got left, but I want to enjoy them travelling and experiencing different places, finding new places, meeting new people, and enjoying life. The freedom to go wherever I want. Well, that was the initial thought, but that freedom seems to have been eroded over the last 6 months. Different councils putting up no parking, no overnight parking. I think if I was starting today, I might be reluctant as a newbie, frightened that I'd never find a place to park, or I'd get fined or arrested for parking somewhere. But I've found over the last 9 months that there's still plenty of places to go, and there's still plenty of places I want to go. I'm still tired a little bit because of work, go away for 5 days, come back for 2 days, go away again. And occasionally I can get the weekend off and I can go away for 2 weeks. And that's going to be my life for now. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my little waffle along. Put your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you think. If you haven't checked out my earlier videos, go and have a look. I think quite a few of them are interesting. My life story. So this is me enjoying a beautiful sunny day out at Wentworth. Saying speak to you soon and bye for now.